Hello class. So today for you I have my Cycle 3 project. This project is kind of based off my last one where I created a web scraper that scraped information about cryptocurrencies and used it as a calculator. So on top of that I made it more of an app feel and more of a unique than just a calculator. So let's get into what happens with this code. So as you run it, Java frame pops up with username, password, and then three buttons, which are the three functions that you can do on the first screen. So the first one is login, which is a basic one that accesses databases that are stored locally on my computer. So for this, show you the databases. There's two main ones that I use. It's the users, which would be the login function, and then portfolio, which I'll explain later on into the code. So the three buttons, the first one I'll show you an example is because you don't need to be registered to use this one. It brings you up to the calculator, which was basically what my last project was, but more of a refined and actual user interface. So for this, it acts the same way as last time. You put in the cryptocurrency you would like to calculate, preferably use whatever is in the parentheses, and then you would enter the amount. And then down here you would click calculate, and it responds with how much that is, or how much your cryptocurrency is worth. And then you can use it with any of them. So let's do Stellar, which is XLM, and let's just say 1250. And there you go. So very basic, nothing too much towards that. Let's rerun it so we can go to manipulate the username and everything. So to create an account, you would click the register button, and then so whatever username you would like, I'll just do username for now. And then password, let's just do hello. So in the users databases, there's two usernames that I've created so far just from using test things, and that's Max and my username. So now let's hit register. Oop, crap. I accidentally hit register twice, but now let's select all from the user. You can see here that the username has been added to it. And then so let's run this program again since I double clicked and accidentally went in. Let's type in username, hello, and then login. So once you're logged in, it brings you to this screen that allows you to do two things. You can go to the calculator and use that just for general purposes, but then there's the more unique aspect, which is called My Portfolio. So if you click on My Portfolio, it'll bring up, this is a Java list. So as of right now, it's empty because I haven't put anything into it since I just created this account. So let's add a cryptocurrency that we would like to add. So a very basic one that everyone knows, Bitcoin. Let's type in BTC. Let's say we have 20 Bitcoin, and we'll add it. Let's do another one. Let's do Stellar again. And then, so now we add it. And then this one will be added to the portfolio table. So let's try and get the values that are in portfolio to see if they were added. Okay, cool, they were. So these two are linked to the first account I created, Max. So the way I manipulated the data into creating one table for everyone's saved data is a specific user ID. I made it the primary key. So whenever, I'll explain later, but this is the main way I keep track of what account I'm accessing and what information I need to grab from this database. So now we have that added. So let's go back to the page. Let's hit the button cancel. We'll close this, and then it'll bring you back to the portfolio. So you can click the back button, and then let's go back to my portfolio. And as you can see in this list, I have the cryptocurrency you chose, the amount you have, and then the current price that it is listed at, and then it gives you a number value of how much your cryptocurrency is worth. And as for the code, that's basically all what it is. So now let's go into the source code. So for this For the first page that you bring up, which is like the login screen, I called it interface. So within this interface, I have 3 buttons, 2 text fields, and then 2 Java labels, which are the just text that you're there, and then the text fields are what you're able to type into. So now, when this program is started up, it initializes the components, so it creates all the buttons and text fields, and then alright, so now for the first button, this would be the login function. So the first thing it does is gets a connection that I created in my last class to not created in my last class, but this allows you to get a connection to the database. So I created a method for that, so it's a lot easier to call instead of having that code typed all over. And then I've created this prepared statement, which selects all the information from the database where the username entered and the password entered. It just checks to make sure that that is an actual account, and it verifies it. And then once that happens, if it is verified, it'll bring you to the next screen, which is the portfolio and calculator button. But if it does not, then it just I did have a statement where it says invalid username or password. And then for this second button, the register button, it brings up your the register form. So it's another JFrame that I created to allow you to open up a new screen so that you can register, and then once you register, it brings you back. This third button is the calculator button. It brings you to the calculator JFrame. And that's about it for this one. So let's head over to the register form. So for this form, there's 1 button, which is the register button, and then 2 text fields and 2 labels, which are for the username and password. So when the register button is clicked, it does all this code right here. The first thing it does is it gets the connection to the database, and the first thing it does is check to see if the username already exists. So if it does exist, you're not allowed to basically double up on usernames, because it'll mess up things later on. And if it does exist, it'll return a statement saying the username already exists. But if it does not exist, it'll it'll access this prepared statement, which inserts the information, the username and the new password, into the database users, which is here locally stored. And then once that happens, it brings you back to the interface option, so you're then allowed to log in again and access that. And same thing, I had to add the get connection in this function too. So now here's the login page. This is after you would log in, and then it brings you up to 2 buttons, the portfolio button and the calculator button. So for this one, I had to create something a little bit more unique. The function generated by the NetBeans to access the page and initialize the components didn't work the way I needed it to. So I had to create another class or not a class, but object variable, so that it retrieves the string value that is the value is the ID number. So this is used in the portfolio function to access the database and gets all the information specific to the user ID. So that allows you to have just your information there rather than all of the information there. And I have to carry that out through a couple of the functions, like I had to do it in the login page and the portfolio page, and then finally in the add portfolio page. So the first button that is on there is the calculator button. It just simple. It accesses the calculator, or it creates a new JFrame for the calculator, and then disposes of the one you're on, so it just closes it without you having to do anything. And then the second one is a portfolio page. So as you can see, I create a new portfolio page with the ID text, so it carries the ID from this page into the next page and so forth, and then it just creates a page, opens the page, and then disposes of the one you're on currently. And now for the calculator page. So I had to import a lot of functions for this one because it uses basically what I did in the last one, or in the last project. So I have a lot of similar codes there, which is the get names to retrieve all the names from the website related to the cryptocurrencies. I had to create the get prices, which returns the prices so I can manipulate them later, and then the pick price so that I can use that to actually calculate the value and the amount you entered. So looking into the code, by the way, all these gray areas are generated by NetBeans whenever you click on the design. So like say I had a text box, it'll automatically update this area and I cannot edit it at all. Like I'm typing things, nothing happens, hitting delete, nothing happens. So this is all like code that's generated by NetBeans itself, which is the initial component, or initialize the components of it, which is called right here. Forgot to mention that. So now this right here is the calculator button. So this is, or the calculate button. So what it does is it gets the string of names from the function down low. It gets the string of prices from the function down low. And then it gets the price of the cryptocurrency that you have selected and that you entered into the top field. And then these two functions right here, this function right here creates a double for the price that you were able to retrieve from the name. And then this right here creates a double of the text value that you have entered into the amount of cryptocurrency you would like to calculate. And then this right here is just a calculation, so the calculation of these two together, and then it prints out, or it sets the total, which is a Java label next to the calculate button, and it sets the text in there to money sign and then the toString of the calculated value. So now moving on to the portfolio page. This one was a little bit tricky because I had to figure out how to access the database when it was created and add those values to the list form, because as of right now, like if you open it without the code, it's just empty. So I had to when it's initialized with this class or this object, and you have the ID inputted, which is what you need. It initializes a component, sets the ID text so you can push it onto the add portfolio later. And then here it gets the connection, which is the same function I have added in like most of the tables and I explained before. And then it creates a prepared function where it selects all the information where the ID value is equal to the ID that has been passed on from the login page, so it's your specific ID to your account. And then it executes a statement, and then I created a string for the name and amount, which I use later to get the currency from the inputted values and the amount from the inputted value out of, or for the values from the table. And then here I have a string array for the get names, which is the function I had in the calculator. I implemented it in here too. I had the get names, get prices, and then the pick price and pick name, which were created in my last project. The only one that you don't know of is probably the pick name. So and then so once the information is added into here, you get